Might as well keep going. Yeah.
But there's nothing, if we can't,
Well, we'll have to just go through to see if 4 people where we know that at least 2 of them we can't. Yeah.
and Suds is gone.
Okay, so I didn't hear from him, maybe.
A message like.
Wrote a late one.
Oh, okay.
Please rise for the pledge. Where's the flag? Oh, there.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation.
As we gather this evening, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength and courage and the will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice for all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interests of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so we may serve our community with fairness, respect, putting their needs above all. Before all. Do a roll call.
Roll call.
Chairperson Kelly,
Here.
Vice President, Chairperson Akezi,
Here.
here. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Here.
Okay, and absent right now is Commissioner Shahal, who will not be here, Commissioner Jane, who will not be here, and Commissioner Wang, who's anticipated to be late tonight.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, on our consent calendar, I'm sorry.
Let's go ahead and declaration. Okay, hearing procedures. The public hearings are conducted by the chair in accordance with the following procedures. The chair of the commission directs all activities during the hearing. All comments shall be addressed to the commission. Any item on the agenda may be continued to a subsequent hearing. Applicants will be allotted up to 10 minutes to present and justify proposals following staff presentation of the item. Other speakers will be given up to 4 minutes, and the applicant is allotted up to 5 minutes for rebuttal of comments. No additional comments will be accepted upon the close of the public hearing, although the commission reserves the right to direct questions to any speaker on any matter. Special procedure time limits may be applied to any items as prescribed by the chair. The appeal of the commission's actions must be filed in writing within 7 calendar days. Okay, consent calendar.
On the consent calendar, we have minutes for April 25th, May 10th, and May 24th. I believe April 25th we cannot do because we do not have 4 members here who were here at that time. We have Commissioner Akezi, Commissioner Kelly, Kelly, and Commissioner O'Halloran, and those are the only 3 that were there that are here right now.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could maybe wait until Commissioner Wang is here and do those at the end of the agenda.
Okay. Let's move on to items set for hearing.
The item set for hearing is a civic one, the informational item, adoption of city council public outreach for planning projects. And staff have that.
Yes, thank you. Rebecca Bustos, Associate Planner. So before you is our draft public outreach policy for planning applications. So the city doesn't currently have a formal policy identifying outreach procedures required during the entitlement process for planning projects. So the proposed policy is intended to formalize the process, some of which we're already doing, and improve the consistency between projects and make it clear the expectations for both the developers and the public. So the policy starts by identifying 4 categories of projects based on their square footage, the number of dwelling units, or their potential for significant interest. So it breaks it up into 4 categories: small, standard, large, or significant. So based on the project's classification under these definitions, different modes of outreach would be required under the policy. So the policy breaks up the outreach process into 3 different kind of categories. So initial public notification would include the on-site posting, which is the signage actually at the project location, the size of which is determined based on which category the project would fall into, as well as website posting. The community outreach portion of the policy identifies a time frame for which a community meeting would be required. As written, it would require the meeting be held within it would suggest that the meeting be held within 60 days of filing an application, but would be required within 90 days. And then the public hearing section of the policy also identifies timing and modes of outreach for the noticing of the meetings. So those would include the mailed notice, website posting, social media, and then newspaper publishing. So the policy also includes a draft outreach or draft public outreach matrix. So this kind of breaks down under each subcategory what would be required. And it includes things that would always be required, may be required, or whenever something would be utilized whenever it's feasible. So for example, all projects that need a public hearing would be required to provide that on-site noticing sign, while only large or significant interest projects would be required to hold a community meeting. However, the director would retain discretion to require additional outreach if he deemed it necessary. So we still have 2 outreach modes that are currently under development. So tenant mailings. Currently, our mailing process for both hearings and community meetings only includes owners, which is what is required by the law, but we're looking to expand it to include occupants and tenants as well. We're also developing a digital mapping system, so the public could access it online and see what's kind of going on in their neighborhood geographically. So those are both still under development. So next, I'll go back to the the matrix. So next steps, we are looking to bring this forward to the City Council so they can adopt it as a formal policy in late June or early July. If there's any questions.
Commissioner O'Casey?
Thank you very much. Can you tell us how you decide something is of significant interest or controversial?
So sometimes what really helps us gauge that is when we put that on-site notification sign up at the property. If we're getting a lot of interest, that kind of helps us if we need to bump it up in a category.
So the planning staff basically decides based on...
Yeah, the director maintains discretion to determine which category or which modes of outreach should be utilized for specific projects.
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Halloran?
Okay, just make sure I understand. When we have the NOAs, where do those fit in? The notification for the agreement with some period of time for the public to respond?
Okay, do you want to respond to that? Okay, well, those are part of the development review process. And so a lot of this is incorporated throughout that process. So it would continue as it currently does, because that's regulated under state law. So it would be really, this would be an adjunct function to what we do there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we would still have the standard notice for that. And whether or not we link the environmental documents to the projects once that map is active is another thing. So there could be a lot of data that's tied to a parcel. So that's
Is
a
that
plus.
also the same situation with a neighborhood outreach by the applicant? Or
Is
is that
what, is
under the
what,
community meeting?
what exactly?
I know there's
The-
issues about, if a developer has something, he should get the neighbors together to talk about it. And that was actually one of my questions too, is that the responsibility and cost of the applicant to do
Okay.
that?
We will provide the mailing list because we have the data sets. And so we will give that to them, but then they will do the actual mailing list because it'll be their notice, but staff will be participating in those meetings.
Okay, that's one concern that people have
Yeah.
raised is about who's responsible for the outreach. And
Yeah.
it seems in some of them, the city's hosting it, and somebody says, is that really appropriate for the city to be? I mean, obviously, the city needs to host, to organize it, but is it really a meeting by the developer?
Well, it's the developers, it's their responsibility to do the outreach, to get the feedback on a proposal.
Okay, and so
Or-
the outreach is not
Yes.
within this that we're looking at tonight?
No, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a combination of basically pre-application, and it can be during the application process.
I think that's all I needed for clarification. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Reinhardt you have a question?
The online components, is that through our website?
So the online components, it is through our website, except for the social media. The city does have Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter accounts that would be utilized.
Okay, but we take care of it all. Do we charge them a fee to do all this for them, or we just?
There's no specific fee. It's kind of rolled into the application fees.
Okay, but we're charged, okay, thanks.
I make a motion to, what's the motion? Where is it? Oh, I lost the page. Oh, here it is. I make a motion for the planning commission to review and accept the staff report and propose public outreach policy for planning projects.
Do we have a second?
Will there be public comment?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we
Right,
have to open
sorry.
up the public.
Right.
I forgot.
Okay, let's open up to public comment. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this? Okay,
Move that we close public comment?
do we have a second?
Oh,
Oh, okay,
I'm
well,
sorry.
come on up. If you wouldn't mind, come up to the microphone.
And good afternoon.
Please state your name.
My name's Joe Michael. I work for the Silicon Valley organization.
Okay.
Just to be clear, the city provides the mailing list to the developers, and then the developers reach out to said mailing list, right? And does the public outreach meeting at no cost developer? That's what I was confused on, if you could clarify. So it's all rolled into the fee is what I'm hearing.
I'll let staff answer that one.
Okay, so we do not charge to provide the mailing list because we will use it for future public hearing notices. So it's part of the filing fee that you would pay. It's incorporated into that expense.
It's all up front.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. We had a motion to close public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Now, would you like to,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for the planning commission to review and accept the staff report and propose public outreach policy for planning projects.
I'll second that motion.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Let's go back up here. Do we have any member of the public that'd like to give us a presentation? Don't see any. Okay, reports of commission and board liaison. Announcements? Do we have any announcements?
Okay, so the commission may have seen that the council chambers is going to have an upgrade to the audio-visual, and so the council chambers will be unavailable for 2 of your regularly scheduled meetings. So we're going to be booking the Central Library, one of the rooms there, and we want to find out whether you would be available at 6 p.m. on both the July 26th meeting and then the August 9th, because the library has shorter hours, and they actually start cleaning up around 8 o'clock and they close at 9, so that would give us enough time to
Okay, you said,
get through the meeting and then not be charged for additional maintenance costs.
okay, so 6 PM, July 26th, and what was the second date?
August 9th. We'll send you a reminder, though, just, I mean, give you a couple of meetings, appointments, so that you have that on your calendar early.
Let's see here.
I have a couple questions.
Commissioner O'Halloran.
My question is, back in October, the council had kind of basically put a stop to presentations on El Camino, and they started an RFP for a ECRPP prime deal. What is the status of that? And also, what were the exceptions to that?
Okay, well, I don't have the information directly in front of me, but there were, what happened is the council said that the projects can continue to be processed, the ones that were already in the pipeline, if you recall that discussion, from the ones that were subject to the potential Nexus affordable housing Nexus fees, or,
Do you have those? Because I know I get.
yeah,
asked
which
about
ones?
those. I know there's one that's being done on Lawrence in El Camino, the one that had the fire.
Yes, oh, Vidovich. Yes, that one was considered in the pipeline. So what happens is they're not going to come to public hearing, but they can continue processing their applications, and actually anyone can file an application, but those new projects would be at risk should the land use policies change after the substantial community outreach, which we're anticipating between 6 and 9 months. So the ones that they said have been in the process for some time would be the Vidovich property, the Summerhill project over here by Town Center. That's the one that was not supported at the 5 stories.
Still
and
bring that forward.
Yes, they're coming back with a revised proposal, and so they're changing the unit and the population type. Also, let's see, Mariani's, I think, was one that was considered because it's been in the pipeline for a long time. However, it does require a general plan amendment, and so those kinds of things, there's going to be a little bit more scrutiny for some of these other projects. I think it was that one, and I know there's another one. We also
About
have,
the one on the Moonlight.
Moonlight is also one of those because it's coming back as a different iteration, so it's
That can
proposed.
still come back to us, but,
Well, it would still be 6 to 9 months out.
and that's a general plan amendment.
Right, but they're holding a community meeting on July 12th. Right, so that's going to continue to get processed, but those ones could come before the ECR plan is actually adopted. The others would need to wait, at least until after that outreach, and then I think the council will revisit, how we're going to process things before the plan is actually adopted.
Okay, great. About that RFP, what is the status of that? Because I think it said that they had to be in by October 31 last year.
Yeah, well, if I recall correctly, the council did actually award that contract because we actually have grant funds for the majority of it. So it was signed off, I thought, a couple of months ago.
Okay, and will there be outreach for that then?
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
Is there anything scheduled on the calendar?
I don't know of anything right now, but there is a webpage for the El Camino Real plan. I understand it is posted, so that outreach will be starting up, and, yeah.
Okay, because I know that's basically negated anybody to propose anything until that comes, right? Except for
Right.
those four.
Yeah, because the land use actually may change as a result of this process.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Reinhardt. Okay, and I've checked my calendar, and I shouldn't have a problem on July 26th or August 9th for the library at 6 PM. Okay, where we're at. Okay, Architectural Review Committee.
I appreciate your covering me for that last one. I don't know that there's anything coming back from that.
No, there wasn't really anything of note at the last meeting, except that we were talking about future meetings, hopefully having consent calendar items, like for fourth bedrooms, as long as it meets certain criteria. I think that's what we discussed, to streamline it so the meetings wouldn't go so long.
Does that have to go through council?
I don't know. The changes to the Architectural Review Committee were some items are consent calendar items. Is that going to need to be approved by the council, or has it already been approved?
No, we just changed the practice of how we're structuring the agendas and conducting the meetings, and that was just basically the committee agreed that we would, so all the committee members are getting the summary staff reports and the plans in advance, and anything that hasn't received any objection during the posting period, or any communications requesting that they be heard, they're being placed on consent. Then at the meetings, they're being announced if anyone wants them pulled from the consent calendar, just like what's done at City Council. And we've only done this one time so far, this last meeting on June 7th, no items were pulled. So the ones that had more interest and might be potentially more controversial, those ones were retained on the regular hearing agenda portion of the meeting.
Okay. Are we going to see now that, well, once we pass has council passed the,
Boarding house
not the boarding house, the,
or preservation ordinance?
no, the accessory unit amendment, because we were talking about that also, that once that's passed, really the need for architectural review to look at every fourth bedroom may be a moot point.
No, that's a totally separate matter, because those bedrooms don't count towards the fourth bedroom. It's the fourth bedroom or more in the main house. Only the accessory dwelling unit ordinance relates to the administrative approval of a separate living unit on a single-family property.
I know, we've talked about that a couple of times about, we're not at a point, we didn't recommend anything at this point. I know staff had presented some drafts of it.
Okay, but those items, those fourth bedrooms, if they don't receive any objection, could be a consent calendar item.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got off on the accessory building one.
No, well, what we were talking about at the meeting was that the big issue for reviewing every fourth bedroom is a quasi-accessory unit. And now with a more open policy for accessory units, having to review every fourth bedroom, or maybe if it's a consent calendar item, it won't be an issue, but that was really bogging down the Architectural Review Committee, because it used to be before the fourth bedroom, we would go to like 8:30 when we started, like at 7, and when we added the fourth bedroom, we were going to like 10 o'clock or 10:30.
Well, the fourth bedrooms are, for the immediate future, are still going to be going to the architectural committee, but not if if another bedroom that would be essentially 4 bedrooms on a single-family property would be within a single-family, within an accessory dwelling unit, even if it's got 2 bedrooms. We're not regulating the number of bedrooms, and it has to be in the main house as part of that housekeeping unit before it's referred to architectural approval.
And if they have the objections, then that could be the consent calendar item.
It doesn't, there's not any objection because it's a ministerial action. So it isn't subject to objection or appeal.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Look at my questions. The accessory unit we did approve, but we haven't
Yes.
yet approved our minutes.
Okay. Has council approved what we?
No, it's going forward either July or, oh, I'm sorry, June 27th, it's going to city council.
Whether we make the recommendation or not, whether we approve our minutes or not.
Yes,
Okay. And then,
they would be labeled as draft at that point if we don't get a action by the planning commission.
does anybody have any, or has anybody attended or any travel or gone on any training related to the planning commission? Okay. Upcoming agenda items. Anything of note?
There's just one, there is a appeal of a denial of a minor modification, so that'll be coming to you the next meeting. And I don't know that we have any other items thus far.
Okay. Anything regarding council actions?
Yes, okay, so since your last meeting, there's been 2 council meetings. One was on June 6th, and the main item related to Planning Commission is that the Tasman East specific plan, the placemaking, mobility, objectives, and road network design was discussed. And the council emphasized the importance of the placemaking. As you know, we've contracted with the PPS for input on placemaking and enhancing sites, both public and private, with more placemaking ideas. And the council's comments for the Tasman East were to keep the streets as narrow as possible. So we're basically creating a better pedestrian experience, to reduce Lick Mill down to 2 lanes for the portion going through the Tasman East area plan, and that they would like to increase the park area up to 10 acres where 5 was proposed. And they acknowledge that this would end up affecting the height of the building, so they were okay with having taller buildings to maintain the residential unit counts that we're looking for. And they're looking at also a 1 to 2 acre urban school site, or to explore and also to explore creative partnerships with school, library, community centers for that area in a mixed-use configuration. So, and the other item that was approved is 967 Warburton. That was the one nearest that sound, the retaining wall, and that's for the 5 units with the 4 new units and the retention of the historic property. So this one was approved by City Council. And then on last night's meeting, if you saw the study session, there was again, a presentation by a project for public spaces. And that was regarding the Bayrec site, the 90 North Winchester site. And so it was to get the feedback on all the outreach that was done and workshops that were conducted on the 90 North Winchester site. If you recall, that 6-acre site is slated for a minimum of 165 senior housing units. That was approved under a PD and development agreement. And now there's a proposal to, since we have a new affordable housing developer, to increase possibly the density there and add a mixed income besides the senior housing. And so the outcome of that was that the PBS said that the showed some diagrams about the open space and purposing multiple placemaking features such as fountains and retail edges along the buildings that would be proposed. So there would be a lot of different spaces and activities for a wide variety of residents and visitors. And this was a little bit different than the original proposal by CORE, which would focus more on perhaps a single or a more focused agricultural community. So the council, like the concepts because it was very versatile use of the space and would allow many more interests from the community to be pursued at this property, and it would be a signature, like looking property that would have a lot of activities that would appeal to a lot of different demographics in the city and a surrounding neighborhood. So at this point now, they've directed CORE to take that information into account and to come back with any changes or to explain how their proposal would meet those that public outreach that took place to reimagine the site. So that's where we're at this point with that project.
You just reminded me, I did go to a meeting, and it was on the PBS, as you saw, it's there. Last Saturday is hosted by Santa Clara University and the city. And it was, as you said, I think it must have come up, the same topics came up last night on it. The one that struck me was talking about El Camino, both what going forward, and also I think they felt a certain amount of success on where the target is on that corner where people could group together. The biggest thing I got out of that was benches and chairs. It's, have places to look at. I think one person made a comment and said, not only have a bench, but have a chair so I can look at the person on the bench and talk to them. But I thought that was good, and so I did go to that, and I think we'll see more about that in the El Camino general plan.
I was at the same meeting, but unfortunately, I had to leave early because kids from sister cities got bumped off the plane, so we were scrambling to find another flight to get them to Japan. I don't think we have enough people.
I don't think we have enough people because various people missed various meetings,
Yeah.
including Commissioner Wang. I'm going to be gone the next meeting.
Oh, geez.
Well, if everybody's here, we probably have 4 at each of those. So that's all we need is 4 at each of them to approve the minutes.
Well, I was present on all 3 days, but
You have a record of the May 10th?
Listed under the roll call who was here. That's the item 2 on each of the minutes. So on April 25th, it was Chair Kelly, Vice Chair Casey, Commissioner O'Halloran. That was 3, so we can't vote on this one. May 10th, it looks like we have everybody, no, we have 3
Commissioner Wang
again.
here.
Oh, there he is.
I was watching you guys on Facebook,
Oh, my goodness.
rushing to get here.
Have to recount that
Yeah.
number.
Okay, so, yeah, we need, we tabled the minutes until till you arrive, so now we can vote, because one of them contains the recommendations and comments about the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, which is going forward at the next meeting of the city council.
There's 4 of us there that are here today.
So the April 25th meeting would be the first one we would need a vote on, if there are no changes.
So on April 25th one, I will abstain.
No, actually, you were here for that one,
So it was the following meeting I missed.
right?
All right, so then I can vote on it. Was everybody that's here today at that meeting?
Commissioner Reinhardt was not, so we will have,
We do
yeah,
have
it'll be
4.
the 4 folks right here.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for April 25th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that passes.
And one abstention.
Yeah, 1 abstention.
Okay, I make the motion to approve the minutes from May 10th. Do we have a quorum?
Could you just check that?
Yes, we do have quorum for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Those were.
Then I will be abstaining from that one.
I
Right.
second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention?
I make the motion to approve the minutes from May 24th.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Those all will move forward to council.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's the shortest meeting of your life.
And these were, we were on the movies today, right? We were,
Yes.
okay. Or whatever you call it.
Technology today, you know? I give you guys call out.
I was going to get it later. Grocery bag knocked it on the first spot.